He's a man whose name is forever linked to a small town located in our collective imagination. But radio host and writer Garrison Keillor tells Anthony Mason the news from Lake Wobegon is a bit more complicated these days.
The crowd at the Buell Theater in Denver, Colorado earlier this month traveled from all over.
I came in from Florida.
We live here in Golden. We just met some nice people from New York.
They came to see a reunion of a Prairie Home Companion.
Oh, the crowd is coming. I look around for you.
The show Garrison Keillor hosted on public radio for some 40 years.
I've been listening to Garrison Keillor since 1985.
Very missed. Glad to be here tonight.
The night would mark the return of renowned Keillor characters.
Guy Noir, Private Eye.
Of the show's imaginary sponsor.
This first half hour of our show brought to you, as always, by Powder Milk Biscuits in the Big Blue Box.
And of nostalgic tales from the fictional Lake Wobegon.
Well, it's been a quiet week in Lake Wobegon, Minnesota, my hometown.
At its peak, a Prairie Home Companion reached more than 4 million listeners on more than 700 public radio stations.
I went into radio, started up a show long years ago.
Keillor retired from the radio show in 2016. It's a comfort to become a tourist in old age and enjoy my irrelevance, he wrote in his recent book, Serenity at 70, Gaiety at 80. He will become an octogenarian in August.
It's a great age because you lose your ambition, but you still love your work. Mm-hmm. And this is such a blessing.
Keillor has never stopped writing. In his latest Lake Wobegon book, Boomtown, the author returns to the community he invented.
And the people who live there correct me on the details. Why did you take such a sunny view of life in Lake Wobegon? You know, you left out adultery, you left out drunkenness and corruption. Why did you do that?
How do you answer when they say you left out the alcoholism and the adultery?
I accept being corrected. I appreciate correction.
But Keillor's plans for aging gracefully have been clouded by Me Too accusations that surfaced just after his retirement.
Me Too was a very noble undertaking, you know, to fight bullies. There are bullies, and I'm in favor of fighting them. I'm not one myself.
You've said basically that you felt you were the victim of an injustice in a good cause.
Well, I wouldn't use the word victim. I've met too many people who really are victims, and I'm not.
In the fall of 2017, Keillor was accused of sexual misconduct by a female colleague. Minnesota Public Radio, the distributor of his show, cut ties with Keillor, effective immediately.
There are some people who are going to be not happy that we're even here sitting talking to you.
I don't know. That's going to be your problem.
5 years later, he is making no apologies.
And there are some people who felt they didn't see on your part enough reflection or regret. What would you say to that?
I can only tell what I honestly feel. It was a mutual flirtation. There was no kissing, there was no hugging, it was, you know, a sort of flirtation that thousands of people did before me, and I hope they take my case as a warning that you should not. You should not be friends with a female colleague. It's dangerous.
Well, you could argue that.
You should never put your hand on a female colleague, ever. It's dangerous.
You could argue, based on the emails that you released, that it was more than a friendship.
Well, call it what you will.
What would you call it?
Friendship.
But Minnesota Public Radio found a pattern of improper behavior after the woman, a researcher for the show, accused Keillor of dozens of sexually inappropriate incidents. She also accused him of 3 instances of unwanted touching, according to the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. In his defense, the married Keillor shared hundreds of emails with the woman with the newspaper. In one, they reported, he imagined them having sex on an airplane. Later, he imagined them naked in bed in his hotel room. She replied that the image of us lying together is sweet. Before a settlement was reached, the woman told the Associated Press, through her attorney, that Keillor was her mentor and employer, adding, he had power over me. Every time I said no or tried to avoid him, I feared I was saying no to my future. In a news statement to CBS News, her attorney said, our client disputes assertions that there was a mutual attraction or consent.
I would have been grateful if an angry person had walked up to me and said, this is what you did to me. This was the effect that it had on me.
Do you think you crossed the line in any way in that relationship?
Evidently I did. But
do you think you did?
If so, I crossed the line in a way that if you were to dismiss everybody else who had crossed the line, there would be no staff left and there would be no management whatsoever. The culture changed.
The culture changed.
The culture changed.
Keillor reached a settlement and signed a confidentiality agreement.
But it was a dreadful, dreadful mistake. A person should never sign away your right to tell your side of the story.
Perhaps his greatest anger, though, was directed at Minnesota Public Radio.
I worked for the company for 40 years, and I was dismissed with a phone call. The phone call took about a minute and a half. There was no thank you, you know. Mm-hmm. But I had already retired, so
yeah,
that makes it easy.
But you lost your book deal. You lost your newspaper column.
Yeah.
Keillor doesn't spend much time in his native Minnesota anymore. So do you think of New York as home now?
Oh, sure.
You do?
It's where my wife wants to be.
He does occasional one-man shows, mostly in smaller cities. Me Too issues don't seem to deter his audiences.
I do not doubt part of the accusation, but I completely doubt that the punishment fit the crime. Absolutely not.
Everything's got a season, but his season ain't done yet.
I guess what I'm asking is, do you feel like you've been unfairly tarred by this?
I'm not taking a poll about my reputation, my public image or anything.
Do you care about it?
I don't. I have friends and family, and there are a certain number of people who still love to come out and hear about Lake Wobegon. Mm-hmm. And that's enough. What more does one want? But that's the news from Lake Wobegon, where all the women are strong, all the men are good looking, and all the children are above average.